Google really made a splash with the latest Pixel devices. Now, the hardware is actually catching up to the software that we've been enjoying on phones made by the Big G. But while the Pro moniker does mean that the Pixel 6 Pro has the most to offer, it also was put in a pretty large package that might have made that phone a 5 steps forward, 1 step back situation. So, enter the smaller of the two, a phone that might not be particularly pro, but that also means it is easier to handle and, let's say, easier to acquire. This is Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here's what worked and what didn't with the Pixel 6. One of the only parts of the Pixel 6 Pro that I wasn't really a fan of was the design. I'm not even talking about the colorway, even though I happily covered it up with a skin and a case. I was actually talking about the size and the form factor. Now, I think we can all pretty much agree that it's about time Google finally did something different on the design front, putting that large camera bar at the top third and moving away from the general design language that we've had basically for the last few generations. But the Pixel 6 Pro went a little too far in the size department, with the curved screen making it just a little bit too weird to handle on top of all of that. That is not the case with the Pixel 6. I actually really like this colorway more than the one I have the Pro in, but the main part that really helps here is a flat display and a slightly smaller size. I think there is more than enough screen via the 6.4-inch panel personally, and curves wouldn't really add too much more to it of true significance. The other thing that I'll say I appreciate is the matted black frame that is rounded off for, in my opinion, a more comfortable grip. It's something that I didn't think I would really notice until I used that Pro model long enough. And you know what, I even found myself easily enjoying Material You, the Pixel launcher in this Android 12 software, more on the Pixel 6. It seems that the screen is just enough smaller that it mitigates all of the issues that I had when handling Material You on the Pro model. So people who prefer an easier quality of life have the Pixel 6 as a choice, while those who crave larger displays still have more than enough to enjoy. And of course, all in a package that is not too hard on the wallet, which we will get to more later. Now, you might miss out on the Pro word, but the Pixel 6 thankfully provides largely the same daily experience with the Tensor chip. There was a lot of speculation regarding how this processor would stack up against heavy hitters in the SoC space, but even if Google wanted to focus their silicon on specific use case scenarios, it actually still works swimmingly with the vast majority of normal everyday use cases. Android 12 runs along nicely. Multitasking, or at least running in and out of applications, is exactly as snappy as it should be, and even gaming has been a pretty good experience on here. To be fair, Tensor doesn't allow me to fully max out on graphics settings in games like Genshin Impact and Wild Rift, even though the higher refresh rate screen does allow for more fluid gameplay when it's applicable. I wouldn't call the Pixel a gaming phone by any stretch of the imagination, and neither would most of you, I'm willing to bet. But all in all, I'd expect this phone to be just fine for most people for a good amount of time, with high-performance gaming being the only place where it isn't really all that future-proofed. And speaking of the gaming experience, you can further enhance the play with a good pair of headphones. And I've got a good pair to show off here, courtesy of the sponsor of this video, Master and Dynamic. You might already know M&D for their premium audio offerings, but now they are bringing all of that to the gaming segment. This is a pair of headphones that is really comfortable, sounds great, and works very well in multiple scenarios. For example, the headphones can connect to PCs and consoles with a wireless dongle that provides super low latency listening or playing when going through things like the Halo Infinite campaign, which is exactly what I've been up to for the last couple of weeks. But when you're talking with friends either in-game or just casually in Discord or via video chats, a detachable microphone reliably captures your voice. This boom mic also comes with a pop filter, can get into a perfect position to capture your voice, and it comes with its own volume and mute controls as well. But what makes this pair of headphones really useful is that Bluetooth 5.0 connections let them connect to smartphones like the Pixel 6. That makes these a viable companion for things like media consumption, music, podcasts, and especially gaming, because the low latency audio is also applied to that Bluetooth connection. Rocket League Sideswipe has been one of my addictions lately, and having the electric tunes and the sound effects from this miniaturized but still high-paced game coming through the MG20 has been a delight. And that doesn't even cover everything that these headphones offer, like 7.1 virtualized surround sound, wired connections made possible by a USB-C to 3.5mm cable, and a rated 22 hours of battery life that actually took me a few days to finally run all the way down. All in a premium design that uses Alcantara for the outer materials and then memory foam for the ear cups. That's plenty of functionality in just one pair of headphones that you can use for the PC, the console, and the smartphone all together. To check out the Master and Dynamic MG20 for yourself, hit the link that is in the description down below, and thank you again to Master and Dynamic for sponsoring this video. There are a few places where the phone seems to be a little dialed back, at least compared to plenty of phones in its price point. This fingerprint reader here, despite being a welcome biometric option in the age of mask wearing, is far from the fastest one that I've used. There are times that I just am not able to get it to recognize my fingerprint on the first try. We're also pretty far from the days when micro SD card expansion and headphone jacks could be expected on higher end devices like this, but I will point out that the Pixel 5a that came out just before these phones actually did have a headphone jack. And then there's the battery. Not necessarily the battery life, which has been fine and basically as expected. Instead, there's the notion that the charging speeds here are not what was expected or advertised, because Google says 30 watts, but apparently it's actually much closer to 20. While such numbers are still higher speeds than normal, it does suck that even Google's claimed charging speed is lower than many other fast charging phones that I've used this year. There is faster wireless charging compared to many others, but this might be best through the new Pixel stand, which is finally starting to ship when this video is being made. If you actually want to know more about the second gen Pixel stand, I will say check out the homie TK Bay's video about it. It's appearing in the card above and is in the description below, so remember to check it out after this video. There is another place where the Pixel 6 dials back, and that is the camera hardware. Now, don't get me wrong, everything that you're seeing here is better than ever, which we'll get to in a bit, but compared to the Pixel 6 Pro, there are a couple of things that you have to bear in mind. The main thing you're missing here is a telephoto lens and sensor, which means you'll be digitally zooming. Even though I'm not a big user of zoom on smartphones personally, I will admit that putting that Google sauce all over the photos that come out of a proper telephoto yields way better results than doing the same thing on inherently lower quality digital zooming. But again, I don't find telephoto totally necessary, and if you're the same way, you're not missing out on too much. One thing that does hurt a little bit is this front-facing camera, which compared to the Pixel 6 Pro is a little less powerful, not as wide, and it can't do 4K video recording. So vloggers and social media people might feel that pinch, but I will also admit that reliable, wide selfies enhanced by the Google software became a big part of why I loved the Pro model. So okay, you might lose out on some of the better hardware, but let's make no mistake. The upgraded sensors do a great job of complementing what we've known all along. If you want great photos, you go Pixel. Pictures coming from this phone are all delightfully detailed, have good amounts of contrast, and with Google's guiding hand, even scenes that are not particularly ideal come out looking pretty good. Even without some of the hardware bits that were given to the Pro, the Pixel 6 is an easy go-to choice when you want to have good pictures at an outing, at a get-together. I will level with you for a second right now though. You can definitely argue that even with the higher hardware, the Pixels will still look like, well, any other Pixel. I can see where some people may see aspects that are a bit too familiar and are not particularly updated for this new model. I do think giving the software the best possible starting point is important though. So let me put it to you this way. If you have always liked the Pixel look, which I have, then you still get it and possibly even more now, which is still a win. And let's not forget the magic eraser. For all of those times you want your social media posts to be, well, all about yourself. And finally, there are these motion modes, action pan and long exposure, where you have to find yourself in very specific situations for them to end up useful. They're pretty fun to check out when you do find yourself in those scenarios, but I'll be honest here, I don't really use them much at all. One thing I do come to the Pixel 6 for more now than ever is quick video shooting. This has not been a thing in basically any other Pixel before now, but with the more powerful main sensor, 4K video recording on the Pixel 6 is actually a viable option. I have to reiterate, main sensor though. It's the most capable one with autofocus that has a pretty good hit rate and natural depth of field. Compared to the other sensors, let's say video coming from the wide-angle camera drop in quality, as does the front-facing camera at its max 1080p resolution. Steady video is definitely a highlight of the Pixels now that almost all of those modes work in the 4K resolution. Smooth movements are easy to achieve, especially if you put a little bit of that extra effort in, especially with the cinematic pan movements, which use 60 FPS slowed down for even smoother results. That's perfect for my occasional B-roll shots when I don't want to carry around other cameras. You just have to make sure you're in good lighting. I'll admit, it's far from the best video shooter that we've seen in smartphones, but I have to give the Pixel 6 credit for finally succeeding where previous offerings have simply failed. What you can really rely on with the Pixel is the assistance of Google in nearly every part of the device. Google Discover is over on the side, it's always there for quick headlines on things that matter to you. Google Assistant is more than just a swipe or a tap away now, you can actually hold the power button and talk to it walkie-talkie style, which I love. Now Playing is always letting me know what song is playing in the immediate vicinity. Call screening keeps me from needing to answer the phone any more than I already don't. And live captions bring closed captioning to basically anywhere. And that's not even every feature. Something like Live Translate is something I'm sure will come in handy when the time comes, but so far that time has not presented itself, so I can't even really say much about it yet. What I will say is one of the greatest Pixel innovations is the enhanced voice typing thanks to Google Tensor. It comes in handy for those times when I can't or shouldn't be putting all of my focus into even swipe typing, and it's incredibly responsive and mostly accurate. I actually have gotten to the point where it's my preferred way of responding to emails when I'm on my phone. You might wonder why this is a big deal when voice typing is technically virtually on any phone. Let me assure you, using Gboard on any other phone is simply not as fast, it's not as accurate, and it provides far less features like the voice-activated send or clear functions. Seriously, it's yet another reason why I end up reaching for the new Pixels compared to plenty other smartphones. So you have a good camera, Google Assistant, great voice typing, and generally great handling on the daily, which makes this an easy Pixel phone to recommend to people, whether they're coming into the line for the first time or upgrading from a previous model. But what makes this phone so significant is that all of those features get an extra boost by having a pretty damn competitive price. Google's first go at a number of different bits and features actually land for the most part, making for a premium yet unique smartphone experience that doesn't carry the typical premium smartphone price. At $599, this should be a top 5 or even top 3 smartphone on your list if you or a friend or family member are looking for a new daily companion. Then this could be the pixel-perfect, Google-assisted camera smartphone that you've been waiting for. For more on the new Pixels, especially my look at the Pixel 6 Pro, check the links that are appearing right now and are found in the description below. Subscribe to my channel for more in the world of tech, and sound off by hitting that like button and getting into the comments. For now, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody.